Hi everybody, I am here to talk about how client service can be more of your strategic advantage. And specifically today, we're going to talk about the tensions in multitasking and dealing with prioritizations in your job that are specifically related to when you have a client service role, but they can also be applicable to any time you're trying to get more value into your client relationships in order to get more value into your company. My name is Rachel Steiner. I've spent 20 years working in client service and relationship management, managing teams, and I've seen a lot of things happen. And what I've realized is most client service people have great ideas about how to get more impact and more value into the client relationships, but they're not always in a position to be able to share it or to be able to do anything about it. So one of those ideas that I happen to have in my history was I said to my boss, I think we should run a client conference. I was always a part of a broader sales team, and so there was a motivation to try and bring in more business for the entire team as a whole. And so I had this idea that we could run a client conference. We'd done it in the past, but had stopped for several years. And so my boss said, yeah, great, go ahead. You can go run it. Okay, so I had to go figure out how to run it. Well, I already had client relationships, right? We all have stuff to do. There's all of these day-to-day tasks that can burden us down and stop us from any of these more proactive initiatives. And this is what I think is one of the hardest tensions to overcome when we're dealing with a prioritization, especially in a client service role. So let me grab my whiteboard because I want to show this to you visually. I think in any relationship that we have, gotta grab my pen, in any relationship at work, whether you are the client relationship manager or whether you're the CEO, you're constantly trying to figure out how to put more impact and value into the company, or at least that is the goal, because that is what furthers your career, that is what gets you noticed, that is what actually brings profit into the firm, is going beyond the day-to-day tasks. But when you are swamped with those day-to-day tasks, it can be really hard. So what we're doing when we're just dealing with day-to-day tasks and sort of job description stuff is we're being very reactive. Whether that is client reporting, whether that's dealing with ad hoc requests, even the thing that comes in and it's just, I need you to solve this problem right now, we're being reactive. Even things we can plan in advance, we're being reactive because it's much more of a task nature. It's things that just because we can anticipate it doesn't mean that it's actually the opposite end of the spectrum, which is proactive. Proactive to me, when we're looking at this particular spectrum, is those ideas that's going to create more impact, more value delivery to our customers. Things like that client conference idea that I had suggested to my boss. But if I had been so swamped with the reactive part of it, with just dealing with the day-to-day client inquiries, the reporting, the interaction, all of the other things, even assisting the sales team and their process, there was no way I was going to be able to get to this other side of it, the proactive nature of what we were trying to accomplish with the client conference. In the end, the solution that my manager and I had is that we would count that client conference essentially as one of my relationships. So when we were looking at things like account loads, how much was on my plate versus on the plate of my teammates or my direct reports, we actually very specifically looked at things like the client conference as something that was part of my workload, and therefore we needed to create space for it. Now, not everybody can do that, right? That might not be the way your organization works. But the point of looking at this spectrum and these tensions is for you to start thinking about, what in your life are you trying to multitask that's so difficult? And chances are, the thing that is hard to get to might be the really proactive thing, because it just doesn't fit with the reactive. When we're trying to think strategically, and when we're trying to think beyond, to think about impact, when we're trying to think beyond the immediate problem solving or the immediate mandate or engagement that we have with a client, and we're trying to think about how to actually build more value, it takes a different mindset. So if you're one of those people who is responding when asked how you are, oh, I'm really busy, probably means you're stuck over here in reactive. And while that can feel very satisfying to feel busy, where you're actually going to see impact in your career, in your relationships, is over here on the proactive side. So I was able to have a conversation knowing that this is the difference. I was able to have that conversation with my manager to say, what I'm doing is more proactive, but I need to carve out space in what I'm doing in order to treat it as if it had the same time allocation as the reactive things. Because if we can create space and time for the proactive activities in our life, the things that are going to really add value, whether it's to the team that I was working on, the organization as a whole in the form of more revenue, or specifically really starting with the clients and the value that they're going to extract from whatever it is we're working on. We need to create the space and time here. And so knowing that this is a tension, knowing that these are opposite ends of the spectrum, we can start having those conversations, creating dialogue around it, and you can start creating better space around that in your schedule, in your conversations with your manager, so that you really do have the opportunity to prioritize more of the proactive, impactful things in what you do. I'm going to have 2 more videos on this in terms of some of the other tensions that we deal with and helping you to also prioritize. But for today, I want you to just think about what is something that you could do with impact, and is there a way of actually creating space in your schedule right now to start working on that, adding that value, and furthering your career. So again, my name is Rachel Steininger. If you have any questions or comments, please leave it in the comments section and I will try to address them in a future video or in my responses. Thank you.